Hi folks, Ken Ring of www.predictweather.com. It's the 31st of July, last day in the month, and the moon crossed the equator yesterday. Here it is here. Here's the equator, that white line there, and the moon, that's its midpoint position, and the moon is going that way as this circle thing, which is called the ecliptic, tips over that way. So the moon is really descending in the sky. It's heading north. This is the north-south that way, and we're in the southern hemisphere here. So it's now in the northern hemisphere, and it's descending. And it's just gone into Aries this morning. It'll reach its lowest point, the northern declination, next Friday, the 6th of August. By then it'll be around here. And we have a last quarter moon in 3 days' time on Tuesday, and that will be when the moon is at a right angle to the sun's angle. So we're into August now as from tomorrow, and we'll look first at New Zealand coming up for August, and we'll do other countries in days that are following. Now it's going to be wet, wet, wet for New Zealand, especially the North Island, and that's because there's going to be mostly westerlies prevailing. In fact, almost every day in August I expect some winds from the west, either the southwest or due west or northwest. And because a significant number of days will be coming from the west with westerlies, that's what brings the rain. That's the direction. And if we were to total up the days, well, I think on about 13 days the wind could be blowing from the southwest, about 12 days from due west, and 12 or 13, and about 3 days from the northwest. And when it comes from the west and northwest, it's got more rain with it than a southwesterly, because the way the weather comes onto New Zealand, a lot of it comes across the Tasman, and it comes across as westerlies low down, and or slightly below, around about the Antarctica area, southwest, coming up between west and southwest, and it hits the Alps and this wind, and then it gets deflected upwards up the west side of New Zealand. The Alps keep it on that side. So, and then it goes up to Taranaki, and it starts to peter itself out. By the time it gets to Auckland, it hasn't got much rain in it at all. It's dropped its load on the way up. So southwesterlies mainly for most of the country are not nearly as wet as the westerlies, because the westerlies come right across. There's nothing in the way except New Zealand, which it hits, and it's carrying with it a westerly wind is carrying with it a system from across the Tasman, and all sorts of moisture from the sea that's picked up, all sorts of clouds getting laden, and are looking for a bit of cooling to drop their load. Well, there's plenty of cooling with the mountains, the mountain ranges on both islands, to cool that air and let the rain come. So what will August look like for a town in New Zealand? Well, I've picked Dargaville just to talk briefly about. I think the months should be much wetter, in fact probably the wettest of the year, and I've only got 3 days with absolutely no rain anywhere in the Dargaville district, and they'll be around about the 13th and the 17th to the 18th. And in terms of temperatures, I think the average for maximums will stay about the same as for July. That'll go for a lot of the country, but the minimums will come up a couple of degrees, not in the South Island, but in the northern half of the North Island. So a little bit mild there in terms of how some might think August is going to go, but I wouldn't get too complacent, because I think September will see the average for minimums go back down a couple of degrees, and they'll go back to what the averages are for July, and October the minimums will only come up to the average for August figures. So on the whole, there's a couple of cooler months ahead in what will supposed to be spring, but it's not going to feel like spring at all. So the way the rain amounts are looking is that this first week in August, that'll be the wet one, then around the middle there'll be some falls, fairly significant, and also in the last 7 days of August. And the sunniest spells, they could be between the 11th and the 16th, and the 26th and the 31st. So around about the middle and in the last 4 days. And the windiest time should be in the first week, with some gusty westerlies, so that's in only a few days' time. Around the 20th, I think the odd gusty northwesterly will come along, and with it the warmest maximums for the month, because that's what the northwesterlies bring. They bring very warm air down. And I think, talking about gusty winds, around the 25th and 26th, I think there'll be some strong westerlies and southwesterlies there. As I said, the warmest minimums should be from those gusty northwesterlies around the 19th and the 20th, and the coolest minimum, sorry, did I say the warmest? I meant the warmest maximum. And the coolest minimum should be around the 7th of August, which will be as a result of 2 days beforehand of strong westerlies, which, as I said before, are cool and dry. Now, the best fishing will be, as usual, around the full moon, which is the 23rd to the 26th, and also the new moon before that, the 9th to the 11th. And the barometer will probably be the highest around the 8th and the 9th and the 18th. And gardeners, you should be harvesting between about the 4th and the 6th, because that's when the water table will be low, and the produce is not going to get waterlogged just as you're picking them. And the highest tides, I think they're going to be around the 11th to the 13th. So that's my lot. Sorry I've gone on a bit long. I'll talk about other countries and days to come. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Hope you catch me again.